president's nomination of retired Vice Admiral Ibokete Ibas as the Rivers State Administrator has been met with reactions. Ibas, who is a former Chief of Naval Staff, will be responsible for overseeing the affairs of the state for 6 months. The new Rivers State Administrator served as Chief of Naval Staff from 2015 to 2021 and also served as Nigeria's ambassador to Ghana, while photos emerged shortly after the president's nationwide broadcast showing what appears to be a close relationship between the new Rivers Administrator and the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, who is at the center of the crisis rocking Rivers State. I mean, Dr. Abati, I heard your beautiful submission early this morning. Kudos to you. I think that you unbottled the whole situation in Rivers State and actually saying that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu acted unconstitutional. Well, the NBA has released a statement as well. And the statement reads in part, a declaration of emergency does not automatically dissolve or suspend elected state governments. The Constitution does not empower the president to unilaterally remove or replace elected officials. Such actions amount to an unconstitutional usurpation of power and a fundamental breach of Nigeria's federal structure. The NBA firmly asserts that the situation in Rivers State, though politically tense, does not meet the constitutional threshold for the removal of elected officials. For a state of emergency to be declared, Section 305 of the Constitution outlines specific conditions, and I'll read them. It includes 1. War or external aggression against Nigeria. 2. Imminent danger of invasion of war. 3. A breakdown of public order and safety to such an extent that ordinary legal measures are insufficient. 4. A clear danger to Nigeria's existence. 5. Occurrence of any disaster or natural calamity affecting a state or a part of it. 6. Such other public danger that constitutes a threat to the Federation. Well, the NBA questions whether the political crisis in Rivers State has reached the level of a complete breakdown of law and order, warranting the removal of the governor and his administration. Well, reactions have trailed, and I'll take Atiku Abubakar's tweet. In a lengthy tweet, Atiku wrote on X, the declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State reeks of political manipulation and outright bad faith. Anyone paying attention to the unfolding crisis knows that Bola Tinubu has been a vested partisan actor in the political turmoil engulfing Rivers. His blatant refusal or calculated negligence in preventing this escalation is nothing short of disgraceful. Beyond the political scheming in Rivers, the brazen security breaches that led to the condemnable destruction of national infrastructure in the state land squarely on the president's desk. Tinubu cannot evade responsibility for the chaos his administration has either enabled or failed to prevent. It is an unforgivable failure that under Tinubu's watch, the Niger Delta has been thrown back into an era of violent unrest and instability, undoing the hard-won peace secured by the late President Umaru Yar'Adua. Years of progress have been recklessly erased in pursuit of selfish political calculations. If federal infrastructure in Rivers has been compromised, the president bears full responsibility, punishing the people of Rivers State just to serve the political gamesmanship between the governor and Tinubu's enablers in the federal government is nothing less than an assault on democracy and must be condemned in the strongest terms. An assault on democracy, Ayo. That is how Atiku Abubakar has termed this unconstitutional declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State. Well, before I come to you guys, another reaction that trailed Tinubu's declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State is a 2013 video of former President Goodluck Jonathan when he declared a state of emergency in 3 northeastern states, Adamawa, Borno, and Yobe, over worsening insecurity, well, according to former Attorney General of the Federation, Mohammed Bello Adoke. Jonathan did not suspend the governors of the states because it was unconstitutional. He dedicated a whole chapter to this issue in his memoir, Burden of Service. Well, here's that video.
Following recent developments in the affected states, it has become necessary for government to take extraordinary measures to restore normalcy. After wide consultations and in exercise of the power conferred on me by the provisions of Section 305, subsection 1 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, I hereby declare a state of emergency in Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa states. Accordingly, the Chief of Defense Staff has been directed to immediately deploy more troops to these states for more effective internal security operations.
All right, Dr. Bati, you were trending with that video because you delivered a brilliant submission on the reason why the president did not suspend the 3 governors at the time, because obviously it is unconstitutional. And like I said, the former Attorney General of the Federation, in his book, I urge the viewers to grab a copy of the book, Burden of Service, The Reminiscences of Nigeria's Former Attorney General, published in 2019 by Kling Street, London and New York. Well, a reaction followed that announcement, a declaration of emergency back in 2013. And this excerpt from the Daily Trust, according to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu at the time, if we can pull up that excerpt from Daily Trust, Tinubu, who was a former Lagos state governor, had said in that excerpt that the imposition of emergency rule in 3 states is a dangerous trend to the art of governance and a deliberate ploy to subvert constitutional democracy. He said in a statement from his media office yesterday that by declaring a state of emergency in Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa states, President Jonathan intimidated and emasculated the governors of these states. Imagine that at that time.
Like
yes, absolutely. And he also said that Jonathan's intention was to muzzle the elected governments of the states for what is clearly a display of unpardonable mediocrity. And guess what? Diabolic partisanship geared towards 2015. Just like what is actually happening. And that's the conversation, Rufai, that this whole, suspension, removal of office, if you may call it, is geared towards, the 2027. It's politically motivated. Dr. Bati, you have said it's unconstitutional. The former Attorney General of the Federation has said it's unconstitutional. I mean, it's a huge conversation, and I feel like we're going to be here speaking. We're hoping that the President, the National Assembly, and the Attorney General of the Federation is listening to Nigerians, because this really is trampling on our democracy. Let me just take this incident, because this is what the conversation is all about whether or not Governor Fubara acted properly before the suspension or removal, or whether or not it is Wike's fault. But you know that we saw a video of Governor Fubara threatening violence against members of the Rivers State House of Assembly. Either proceeded with the impeachment has surfaced online. Let's take a look at that video. I think that the governor made these remarks weeks ago during the inauguration of the state quarters in Port Harcourt.
In as much as I don't subscribe to violence, when the time comes for us to take a decision, I will lead the cause for that decision. Let me say it again, and let me say it again. I'm not scared of anything. The worst that will happen is me to leave the office. It's not. Am I leaving the earth? Is it going to stop me from existing? So I'm not even bothered about that. But the right thing must be done and must be said when the opportunity is given to us.
Now, you heard him there. He said the worst that could happen is for him to leave the office. And what has happened now? I mean, it appears that he actually ushered in this sort of removal from office. I mean, that video is actually trending. But another thing that President Tinubu had said during his nationwide broadcast was because of, there's this sort of, insecurity, as he claimed, that is one of the reasons why he had declared that state of emergency. Well, on Monday, we saw an explosion that rocked a section of the Trans-Niger pipeline in Bodo community in Gokana local government area of Rivers State. The Trans-Niger pipeline is a key federal transport line supplying crude oil to the Bonny export terminal in the state and plays a crucial role in crude oil export with a capacity of 1.25 million barrels per day. Well, here's a video that surfaced on Tuesday morning showing thick black smoke billowing into the sky as flames rapidly spread into the mangrove.
What's happening in Ogoni again? Gokana Bonny Road, by Julius Berger Junction. What is happening? Look at gas flaring What's happening in Share and Ogoni again? What is it? Would Ogoni people die for you people? What is it? It's too bad. It's too bad of you. Why? No.
It remains unclear what really caused that explosion, and I also heard that there were other explosions that are being underreported at this point. Meanwhile, a video showing multiple military vans filled with armed operatives heading towards the Rivers State Government House in Port Harcourt just moments after President Tinubu declared a state of emergency has surfaced online. Let's take a look. State of emergency in full glare. Let me take this reaction from Brother Bat before I come to you guys. He wrote, "The Democrat invites the military to power in River State. Nigeria, federal government is in charge of securing oil pipeline, but President Tinubu blames Governor Fubara for not deploying security to protect the pipeline. It is fairly clear that Wike and Tinubu have a script. Can you doubt that?" Rufy on fire.
So I think the constant word we have repeated here is a French word that I had many years ago when I was trying to learn French, was used to be the longest word in French. But I don't know if it's still the longest. I think there are other words that are longer now, which is anticonstitutionnellement. That used to be the longest word in French. And now we have seen that the Constitution now also pushes it to the National Assembly. But I make bold to say that I don't trust this National Assembly. They are rubber stamp. The same National Assembly that's not been able to investigate the Senator Natasha scenario. And what we are hearing now is that there are plans to be able to muscle her and every probably recall her. Is it the same National Assembly that met with the president before he went out to announce this? So they were in the know. The president had told them before. They met and they all agreed before they went to announce it. Is it the same National Assembly that you see will get 2/3? That's why when Yinaya Abaribe was being interviewed on television yesterday, he couldn't say much because I'm sure Mr. Abaribe can speak for himself, but he cannot speak for the leadership of the National Assembly. And like I said before, if you think that this National Assembly will reverse what President Tinubu has said as regards the state of emergency, then probably you think you are so delusional enough to think that Osimhen is a striker for South African national team. I don't think so. I think this will be allowed to go. I think this is the script they have constantly played. I think President Tinubu was very unfair and very biased in his speech yesterday. In fact, what he said was a playbook from the already printed impeachment notice that was circulated. President Tinubu did not call Wike to order. In all fairness, we played a video of Fubara threatening. What about Wike's own threat video? So we are showing all of this to the world because it will be on record. The same President Tinubu that spoke against things like this, he is now the one in front and center doing all of this that we complain about. So he has now become an albatross of some sort to the so-called democracy. And I use the word so-called he fought for because I don't think when these leaders act, they even understand the tenets of democracy. Can't President Tinubu tell Wike enough is enough?
Those are the questions out
like
there.
Like Ateno Peter's side did put out today, what is really going on between Wike and Tinubu? The earlier we know it, the better it is for this country. And all of this, don't be deceived, is for 2027.
Right.
Supremacy and power.
All right. Dr. Abati.
Congrats, Mr. Wike. You won your Pyrrhic victory. Enjoy it.
Okay, I align myself with those who think that this is history repeating itself in a farcical manner. That President Tinubu, as a leader of the opposition in 2013, May 2013, the exact date, 16 May 2013, was reported by Daily Trust, and saying that President Jonathan declaring, state of emergency in Adamawa, Yobe, and Borno states and certain local governments was, launching a dangerous trend in the art of governance and a deliberate ploy to subvert constitutional democracy. I think we've made the same point this morning, that this is precisely what President Tinubu himself has done. So at one level, those who say the internet does not forget, they've been proven right. Because you say one thing 20 years ago, the internet will bring it back. One positive side of social media. The second point is I had already dealt with some of the legal issues relating to Section 1, Sub 2, Section 11, Section 305, Section 188. I will not repeat myself. What is the way forward? The way forward, as my Lord Justice Owade retired, was pointed out, was that now the ball is in the court of the National Assembly, because it's not a unilateral thing. The President of Nigeria has no unilateral authority to declare a state of emergency in any part of Nigeria. That will amount to dictatorship. It will still have to go to the National Assembly. Now, this National Assembly must see the wisdom in rejecting the proposal as presented by President Tinubu. President Tinubu himself, having violated sections of that Section 305, because there is no way in that constitution that it is said that the president can take over authority of Rivers State. Only the National Assembly can do so under Section 11. So the National Assembly will need 2/3 in the Senate, 2/3 in the House of Reps. These are our lawmakers that nobody is sure of what they are doing, whether they are making laws in our interest or not. And the two leaders of the National Assembly, they were even at the declaration of state emergency meeting. Would they have the courage to stand firm?
That's the question.
Number two, as part of the way forward, I think Vice Admiral Ibakete Ibas, retired, should act as a citizen and patriot and reject this appointment. He will have put his name on the very positive side of history by behaving as a man that can be counted upon as an officer and a gentleman if he proceeds to say, look, I don't want to be part of this. Otherwise, we will think that he has accepted the appointment for other considerations.
The Lord has done
I don't want to use the word stomach. Yeah. And nobody should come forward and say they are doing Thanksgiving service for Ibagete Ibas because he has been given an illegal appointment within the purview of the 1999 Constitution.
Right.
Number three, interested parties, people who have the right local standing in Rivers State can go to court. I don't want to act as a court of law and say these are the people who have the locus. Now, when we had a similar situation in 2004 in Plateau State, some people under the auspices of the Lagos State government, I think they were led in that case by Professor Ben Wabueze, went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the matter was determined in 2006 by Plateau State government versus and others versus the Attorney General of the Federation. Now, I will need time to again look at that case to find out what was decided. But that case was decided on technical grounds. Part of the reason why people raise questions about the judiciary. But I think that this is a decision, a unilateral decision as of this moment by the President of Nigeria that should not be allowed to stand.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, the people of Rivers State, we can only appeal to them, not to sabotage the Nigerian state, which was the point that Waziri Adamawa Atiku Abubakar was making. That what this has done is to take us back to the pre-Yaradua, Umaru Yaradua period, when there was chaos in the Rivers State. And that had to be managed with amnesty program, with meetings, with militants. These militants, if they come back, and already you talked about explosions in Rivers State, that will be at a great cost to Nigeria. So there are certain other consequential steps that can be taken to nip the threat of a blowout in Rivers State in the bud.
All right.
And I don't know who advised President Tinubu, and that was why I said the Attorney General himself owes Nigerians an explanation.
Well,
how did he interpret the law that he arrived at the decision that President Tinubu has the powers to suspend governor, suspend legislature, suspend deputy governor, something that President Jonathan did not do.
Right.
That has to be reiterated.
Well said, Dr. Abati. Well said.